it should be.
He's obviously seen it in a different way than any other person.
Anyone would do normally, yeah. It was actually at 17 where Andrew, his brother, accidentally struck him in the left eye with a knife. Henry had to suffer at home for several days until anyone did anything. He was finally took to the hospital where the doctor removed the eye and replaced it with a glass one. I did read a couple of other stories as well, and I couldn't see if it was true or not, so I didn't add it in, but I'll just mention it anyway, that apparently the eye thing with Andrew, some people say that it wasn't this one incident that made the eye had to get removed. There's another story which seems to say that yes, he did get cut in the eye by his brother and that it had sort of been healed, but that he was at school one day and the teacher was giving him a whip, like whoosh, for being naughty.
Could be cane, and
it apparently knocked him in the eye or something, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back with his eye. Like his eye was that weak, it just sort of plopped out. But I don't know if that bit was true. But do you want to see a picture of him at 17 with his lack of eye? Well, he has an eye, but it's a glass eye. You know what? He's actually kind of handsome.
Okay.
Actually, that picture is... Oh, hang on. This one is...
Yeah, he's a handsome lad.
He's a handsome lad. Sorry, I did say that as if like he was cute. And that picture there is when he's actually a bit too young. But because I was looking at another picture, I'll show you this other picture. This one is where he's legal. This is one. See, he's actually quite handsome, right?
He is, yeah.
He actually is quite handsome. Yeah, he's got tattoo. I don't know what the tattoo is. It's a funky tattoo. Tribal
Looks like a skull.
Skull? Oh, well, that makes sense. But yeah, I think he was actually quite handsome. Just FYI, spoiler alert, not anymore. Somehow that look didn't age very well, but we're not going to see that at the moment.
That's going to be for part 2, right?
Probably for part 2, yes. With everything that had gone on in Henry's life, Henry became very bitter and very distant from society and everyone around him. Malnourished, uneducated and abused, he never really developed an ability to assign value to life. He spent his teen years in and out of jail, beginning in 1954 when he was arrested for a string of burglaries, which, as you can see from that picture before, that was a mugshot.
Yeah.
He was pretty young.
And he was 17 yeah?
Yeah, pretty young in that picture. Henry was sentenced to 6 years in the Virginia State Prison, but on September 14th, 1957, he actually managed to escape, and he fled to his older sister's home in, I don't know how to pronounce this place, Tecumseh? Tecumseh? It's spelled Tecumseh. Tecumseh? Tecumseh. I don't know. It's in Michigan anyway. 3 months later, he was recaptured and returned to Virginia, where he attempted yet another escape a month later. This time, he was actually caught the same day. And this is weird, because even though he was put in prison and he tried to escape twice, he was actually released 1 year early. On September 2nd,
really?
1959. Yeah, because I thought, like, if you were trying to escape from jail, that would be
broken of a law, haven't you?
Yeah, I thought, like, you would definitely get extra time or something for that, right?
Yeah, you would.
But apparently not. Apparently not for this guy. When he did get released in 1959, he was reluctant to return back to his mother. I wonder why. Henry managed to track down one of his sisters and went to live with her instead. Things seemed to be going relatively okay. However, his mum did eventually find out where he was and then plagued him with phone calls, insisting that he return back to live with her in Virginia. When he refused, she tracked him down and followed him. So she physically went to go and get him. She's a psycho bitch, right?
And I'd presume this was of age then, right? So why didn't you just say no?
Well, this is the thing, okay? This is where we go from this point. On the night of January 11th, 1960, after months and months of her pestering, Henry actually agreed to meet his mum for a drink at a local bar. So obviously she had tried to follow him. He was running away. There was like a cat and mouse thing, her chasing him and him running away and shit. But yeah, he actually agreed to meet her at a local bar. According to Henry, get ready for this perfect dramatization of Henry for me.
I was pretty well drunk when she started arguing with me. wanted me to go back to live with her to Virginia, but I told her I didn't want nothing to do with her.
Is that a bad accent? That's a terrible accent, isn't it?
Oh, no.
I'm going to keep it in because...
What, all them takes?
No, just the one. If people are listening, they're only going to hear one. But trust me, we did at least 5 takes of that, and the one you listened to is the best. So just assume what the other ones probably sounded like. They were the worst.
Oh, that was so funny.
Look, I'm trying my best here to make things immersive. When they left for home, so they went to a bar, had a little drink, started arguing. When they left for home, still arguing, they took the dispute to an upstairs bedroom and just started arguing and screaming and shouting at each other for hours and hours and hours. Even into the early hours of the following morning. So that's a long fucking argument. That's a lot of energy.
It really is.
That's so much energy focused on negativity. Then again, you've probably got a lot to
Yeah.
a lot to right?
I was actually thinking, how could you argue for all that length of time? I was actually thinking,
They've got a lot to talk about. They've got a lot to discuss. At one point, here we go. At one point, Viola began to hit Henry with a broom. Now, that was the last straw.
Oh, did he kill her?
Years of verbal, mental, and physical abuse came flooding back, and this time, Henry had a knife.
Oh.
The next day, the now 74-year-old Viola Lucas was found on the bedroom floor with a fatal stab wound in her neck. Henry, who was the main suspect, was nowhere to be found.
Oh, fuck.
5 days later, a straight trooper. His sexuality is no concern to our a state trooper in Toledo. Oh, sorry, I just kicked the microphone. Toledo, Ohio, stopped a strangely dressed man during a routine check. The trooper learned that the heavily clad visitor was wanted in Michigan on a murder charge. This man, as you probably guessed, was Henry Lee Lucas.
Was it?
Yeah. You had no idea where I was going with that. Yes, a state trooper found him. I could have just said that, really, couldn't I? But it wouldn't have been as dramatic. Of course, the police locked him up. While in jail, Henry confessed... Stop laughing at me! While in jail, Henry confessed to murdering his mother. Not only that, Henry also admitted to raping her corpse.
Oh.
All right. But then again, that sort of comes back to what I was saying... earlier, his sort of perception of sex is really fucked.
Yeah.
And if she's been using sex as like a punishment for him or as like a violent thing, maybe that's where his correlation's gone. Kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, I can guess it's an educated guess. What you're saying
this
there,
is
but,
all educated guess. These are pseudo psychologists again, right?
But it makes complete sense to me.
Yeah. And me. He did later take that part back, though, when he was doing
What's the point?
a confession. He was telling his defense attorney, Carol Durst, that he left the scene thinking he had only injured his mother, but that he had a change of heart because he was worried about her, and he decided to go back and help, and that he was actually returning to the scene when the trooper stopped him. But 5 days later... 5 days later.
No, that's bullshit. That.
Clearly bullshit. And I think people sort of knew that was bullshit. Him taking the piss, essentially. So, yeah, whether or not anyone actually freaking believed him, he'd already confessed to the stabbing and raping of his own mother anyway. And in his pocket, the police found the pocket knife, which was consistent with the murder wounds. And so the evidence was just more than enough to prosecute him. In March 1960, Judge Rex Martin presided over the trial held in the nearby town of Adrian, Michigan. Now, since Henry had confessed, the defense didn't dispute that he killed his mother. Instead, his defense were trying to argue the case of whether or not he was guilty of either first-degree murder or manslaughter. So whether he killed her by accident or sort of premeditatively, actually actively planned it and stabbed her. The defense argued that the crime was committed without premeditation, malice, or intent to kill. and in an attempt to help the case, the defense actually put Henry on the stand. In the court, apparently he was very calm, very chilled. He repeated the story he had told the police, although now he said he apparently couldn't remember hitting his mum with the knife. So his story was sort of
changing ever so slightly.
Yeah, sort of morphing a little bit. I'm wondering whether or not
his lawyers would have something to do with that.
I'm probably guessing, probably so.
That's the job.
Yeah,
so they would have done that.
They would have said, if we go for this defense, we maybe we'll try and push it that maybe you're blacked out or something and you don't remember doing it. Maybe all this years of abuse or something. Yeah. Reportedly, Henry showed no sign of emotion or remorse, and his attorneys actually grew weary of his cold-blooded nature. So his own attorneys were a bit. They were like, I don't really feel so comfortable defending this guy, but it's my freaking job. Which is what I never get. It must be such a hard job. I don't see how you can do it. Like how you can defend someone who you think is really guilty.
Yeah.
That's how OJ got away with it, allegedly. Well, no, he fucking did, right? Didn't he just admit it in a book?
No, he admitted it on
a news show. And he was doing that stupid hypothetical thing where he was like, if I would have killed her, I would have done this. And that's that's exactly what freaking happened. That's exactly what the evidence seems to show. But it's all hypothetical. It's such a weird story, though. So fucked up. Later, his defense attorney would reveal that Henry actually told her he liked knives and that he found it fun to cut up small animals like cats and mice. That's, you can see why his attorneys are getting a little bit worried about him. But despite the concerns, the defense tried to get sympathy from the jury by detailing Henry's harsh upbringing, blaming his warped perception of the world on his abuse. And the plan kind of worked. The jury did have sympathy for Henry and all the shit that he had gone through as a kid, but they still didn't think he killed his mother by accident. So there was something about him, we still don't think this was an accident. Eventually, the two sides compromised, and they handed down a verdict of second-degree murder, for which he was apparently to serve between 20 and 40 years behind bars.
Can I ask a question? I don't know a lot about trials and stuff, so what does second-degree murder then mean? So
second-degree murder is when when the jury feels that the person's committed the act of murder intentionally,
okay,
and on purpose, and has sort of been fully there in the moment of doing it, but just the fact that it wasn't premeditated and pre-planned. So they feel that, which it kind of sounds like it probably was second-degree murder, right? It doesn't sound from the story, at least, that he had planned to go there a murderer. Although we did have a knife, so maybe that has something to do with it. But then, do a lot of people carry knives sometimes? Maybe they do.
So, a second-degree murder is spur of the moment sort of thing?
Yeah.
And first-degree murder is what is time and planning?
Where you've planned things out and all that sort of shit. So that's the difference, I guess, between the two. They're still fucking murder, though. So but either way. They got him for second-degree murder, where he was meant to see 20 and 40 years behind bars. When it was announced in court, Henry apparently stood there emotionless. Henry was sent to Jackson State Penitentiary in southern Michigan. It was there where he would attempt 2 suicides, and also he would report hearing his mother's voice speaking to him in his head.
Jason?
That's kind of... That's not the time. I was like... But that's Jason, right?
Yes.
Kiki.
Late titty kaka.
Sorry, my mouth went on a weird spasm then. So it's kind of like that. Henry was actually, because of that, he was transferred to a mental facility and then made parole in 1970 after serving just 10 years.
Wow.
Fucked up, right? Shortly after his release, however, Henry was actually jailed again, this time for trying to kidnap 2 teenage girls. Big deal. He was sent back. No, I mean that as in like that is a big deal, but he doesn't really get much from it. He was sent back to his old cell block and would spend just 5 years behind bars before being once again released out into the public in 19.